What is up, everyone? My name is Gracey with Northern Astrology. I am so glad to be here today on Sunday, November 23rd, 2025. I figured out what day it is. Earlier, I texted one of my friends happy birthday, and her birthday is not for another 2 days. But because I was doing her solar return chart, which is tomorrow, I was like, happy birthday. It is definitely the day of your birth. I am totally an astrologer. I know the exact day. So, Mercury retrograde is still here. It's still loud. And if you have a Pisces Mercury or a Jupiter ruled Mercury like I do, then it's just a little bit more wonky because Jupiter is also retrograde. So, welcome in. It's a blast. So let's go ahead and jump in right into this game, right? So we can talk about last week. I do think the refs were way more of a factor than I initially saw. So I was just kind of like a little bit Chiefs blindsided, so to speak. Today is the Colts game. This is the make or break game for the Kansas City Chiefs. You guys might have seen me on some shows this week. And by that I mean Bet Sweats, which I was on Thursday, and they were still talking about what I was doing on the show on Friday. So I was just like, oh, damn. I felt like I got 48 hours of sports betting coverage from everybody. So thank you for tuning into all those things. If you missed it, it is on my YouTube channel, which if you are watching YouTube right now, you can go check it out after the stream. There's plenty of time. And yeah, I decided to go ahead and keep smoking weed on the show. It's part of my process. If you know anything about my Saturn return or my coming of astrologer age, I simply learned very, very quickly. I was like, hey, I am way too hyped up. I have way too much focus. I have way too much neurotic tendencies in my head. I live in a very organized and I make my bed every day, which I found out is not something that everyone does, like fully make their bed. I have to have certain things done each and every day. And I was like, oh, just these little things where I'm like thinking that I'm the only one, living like this, but come from a long line of overthinkers. And so cannabis is something that helps my brain regulate into the right place. And then the fun part is I spent the first 30 years of my life without it. So these last 7 years have been really fun, very expansive. And I've been able to reach parts of myself that I wouldn't be able to without the cannabis. So I definitely appreciate this plant, as should you. And if you're watching this Chiefs game today, hello, Adrian Armour. Very big celebrity in the chat right now. I don't know if you guys know this, but in YouTube chat, Adrian Armour has hit 17,000 subscribers over there. So having a football reaction star in my comments is pretty flattering. That's also the love of my life. But, casual hype up on the YouTube train. Happy lunar return to Adrian Armour as well. It's a Capricorn moon today. Speaking of Saturn, as Saturn rules over cannabis and Capricorn and Aquarius, this is a really Saturn heavy day. There's something along the lines of Saturn being this playful-ish type of energy today, just because Saturn is in Pisces and it is station retrograde. So I feel like retrograde energy is literally the backwards, and it's not because the planet's going backwards, right? Stationing retrograde is totally different than going in reverse. But I do like when people say Mercury is in reverse cowgirl, because that's a fun one. There's just so much that we get to cover today, and Saturn does seem to be the highlight of the day. So we are going to jump into that lovely chart here. We've got that 11-degree Aquarius rising, which 11 is the number of Aquarius. So I'm kind of here for this. There's a certain level of, I'd say, connectivity. There's going to be this electric type of connection. Aquarius is also co-ruled by Uranus, if you're into that. If not, then it's just Saturn, and Saturn is the only ruler and the only placement of today that matters. I don't know. Some people are really staunch into the very different ways that you can go into astrology. Their approach is really staunch. They don't like to waver in it. It's like a stubborn thing. They're like, no, since I believe in this, this is the only right way. I hate to break it to those type of people, but there's 1,000 ways to get to the same answer in astrology, and it's all unique and different. And when I say 1,000, I could say a million, because I just posted a quote from Jan Spiller on Instagram and Twitter. If you want me to post anywhere else, no. I can't do it. There's like only so much time that I have, and I hate social media to the point where I'm like, can we just get on a group phone call? Can I just call you guys and we can chat about it? Can we just meet in person? Honestly, that'd be better than a phone call. So social media is my personal. It's a stage. It is definitely a stage. It is a platform that I have woven into making a grand spotlight of myself, which I've never had a problem doing that as a 10th house sun. Um, but social media is supposed to be this social thing, and people talk about social media in the 11th house, and it's just like, yeah, Aquarius is there, and it is the network, and it is the community, but yet it's the selective community. And like some of these people on social media, I want to let in my fucking like front yard, let alone around me and my energy. There's people I wouldn't even let come in off the driveway on social media, and like we're all just around each other. This doesn't sound right. But it is the leveling field for everything. So, I do like to look at Aquarius as a level playing field. Yeah, I know it's an air sign. I know it's the water bearer. And it's just like the only human sign in the zodiac representation. But are they very human? Actually, yeah, because if you look at civilization and humanity before the age of big cities, industrialization, and all this bullshit that keeps us knowing each other's thoughts. Like, I know people's thoughts from way back in the day. Like, I've been knowing people's thoughts since I was 5 years old. Like, maybe before that. I've always gotten in trouble for knowing things without really being informed, or like I shouldn't know these things about people, or I would say things like, why is so and so doing that? They were just saying yesterday that this was not how they wanted to live. And people would be like, shut up, Gracey. Stop making observations and holding people accountable for the things they say in life. And I'm like, oh, so we're just going to overlook that. Okay, cool. That's how I feel about my 11th house placements. My 11th house moon, my 11th house Venus. They are very much like these astute observers. So Aquarius, yes, it's where social media is. The 11th house is supposed to be this huge meeting ground and communal ground. But I say the reason that the 11th house is so true to community and so true to networking is we weren't supposed to know this fucking much about anyone, ever. Like, I don't even share with people that I love some of the details y'all put out on the internet. I don't use y'all very much, but when I am very annoyed, my 1 year living in Nashville, Tennessee will come out and I will say y'all. It's just like, can you guys shut up every once in a while? And that's why I don't follow that many people on social media, because it is literally a running diary for some people, and it needs to stop. Like, I get that everyone is now marketing themselves as something on social media as well. That is not very 11th house. It's way more 10th house. It's way more public spotlight. So if anything, I think social media is that mix between the 10th and 11th, which actually are both home to Saturn. So the problem with Saturn is that Saturn will hold you accountable for every little thing that you say, do, and promise. Especially depending on how you have that in your chart. So don't make promises you can't keep, and that will be fine with Saturn. That way you just keep doing the things that you are actually capable of doing and able of delivering. So that's one tip with Saturn, is don't over promise. I will always under promise, over deliver. That's been my way since I was born, I guess. I'm Sun Square Saturn. And I do want to mention with, Saturn squaring the sun while Saturn is in those late degrees of Pisces and the sun will be going through Sagittarius. Yes, it's a loose square up until the end of Sagittarius season, which is when you guys will all experience what I deal with natally each and every day, but mine is way cooler because it's an Aries sun and Saturn in Capricorn. Saturn in Pisces, retrograde or direct, is this dreamy like state, but it's not like a dream where you're like, oh, cotton candy, clouds, bubblegum. It's like a fever dream. and you don't know if you're on acid, if you're asleep, or if you time traveled when it is Saturn squaring, when a Jupiter ruled sun is squaring a Jupiter ruled Saturn. And then Jupiter is just retrograde in, over there in Cancer, which is a moon ruled sign. And the moon today is going to be opposite Jupiter, which we do see here in that 11th house. So Saturn is heavy. Saturn is the sign of karmic reward as well as karmic punishment. And without, going too far into the deep end of what Saturn is and isn't, karma isn't good or bad. Karma is a neutral. Karma is the ever evolving balance of all things and the master balancer of everything. If I come out here and say, and this is just once again for reference, if I come out here and say, fuck the Colts, they're going to do terrible, they're ass, everyone is ass, and I hope they all stub their toes on the way to the locker room today. Like, okay, cool. So I just like launched off a bunch of things that are negative towards someone else just because I'm feeling hate in my heart, and it's like, why? Our words are powerful. So today I'm going to say that the Colts absolutely have a chance. They absolutely are able to bring this one in because I'm not an idiot. I know that there's a 50-50 chance, and I am sitting here at 9:33 a.m. Central Time talking about football and the stars like, this is something that is make or break. But I'm going through this with a fine-tooth comb because I fucking love sports astrology. And I don't know about you guys, but when I find something that I love, I'm like, yo, so I'm going to become an expert and I'm going to know everything. And yeah, that's just what I do. So when I started this in 2023, I really wanted to find some correlation between the cosmos and sports and the outcomes, mostly because I love being right. I love knowing things. And then if I can be right and know things at the same time, I'm like, that's it. That is my jam. So, having more of these moments where I can learn and like learn with an audience and learn with a collective group of people who also love sports astrology, I'm all in. And it's cool to have you guys follow along each week. So once again, if you're watching on YouTube, please like, subscribe, follow, heart, whatever the hell you're supposed to do. X, good fucking luck. If you're watching this on Twitter, Elon has not made any integrations for live chat and the live streaming aspect. There is no real, I don't really know what the point is of streaming on X, just that I fucking love Twitter and I will never stop loving Twitter. That's why if you ask me to join Blue Sky, I will karate chop you in the throat. And that's on that. Like, I just don't care about another fucking social media platform. But Twitter, YouTube, I love you guys. Always will. I've been on Twitter since 2009. I've been on YouTube since whenever it was created. YouTube was like everything for me growing up. I loved it. I went viral on the YouTube before YouTube, which was E-Bombs World. I was drunk at boarding school because that's definitely something that you should do at boarding school, and dancing in a laundry room. So that was really fun. Yeah, if you're wondering if this like viral thing, this viral fame or whatever has been new to me since that whole like I was randomly on Pat McAfee's show in 2023, no. The answer is no. Once again, none of this is new. It is just changing and evolving with the platforms that we have. So going into that, I do want to go ahead and start the game analysis instead of the transits happening all around us analysis, and dive into 11 degrees Aquarius. That's where the start of the game is kicking off. And if you've noticed with my other live streams, I have been reading the rising sign sapient symbols only. Didn't do it last week. That's probably what I should have done. And then maybe the Chiefs would have won. It's clearly all on me and has nothing to do with Matt Nagy being a sack of shit. Anyways, we are going to jump right in. Aquarius, 11 degrees. 11 is going to be a very powerful number today. I have no idea who is number 11 on the Colts. I have no idea, honestly, who is 11 on the Chiefs. But 11 and the multiples of 11, the 22, 33, 44, 55, 66, 77, 88, 99. There's just like so many different ways that 11 can show up today, but 11 degrees is the karmic condition of this rising sign of this game kicking off at noon, the strongest point in astrology to be born. During a silent hour, a man receives a new inspiration which may change his life. All right, that is the karmic condition of today's game. The truth to today's game is people on a vast staircase graduated upward. It's like a hierarchy of things. And that's what we are. Oh, Michael Pittman Jr. is number 11 on the Colts. Thank you so much. And yeah, I'm back. I'm here every week. You're back. You're joining me because I'm here every Sunday. Number 13, let's see. That is a barometer. So Aquarius 13 degrees, the weather. That and 2 degrees Aquarius are the 2 degrees to me in the Sabian symbols that indicate someone is highly involved with weather. They either track storms, they could be a storm chaser. I literally just talked about this degree on BetMGM Network with the crew of Bet Sweats, and their producer Paul had a moon and Jupiter conjunction in his 12th house at 2 degrees Aquarius, which is that unexpected thunderstorm degree, which that is not the case for today. But I don't know, like, if the weather is a huge topic, it is foggy out today. We've got a nice misty fog, but it is morning, so I think the longer it gets into the afternoon, I think the less foggy it'll be. Who knows? I think a Capricorn moon in the 11th house is very much foggy weather. So 11 sounds like it's going to be a fucking problem for the Chiefs, so that's good. This is going to be really interesting today. Jalen Royals is also another 11, so that's good to know. I don't know shit about the actual teams. I just look at the stars and hope for the best, right? But I like the 12th degree of Aquarius for being the truth degree of this because it is talking about a hierarchy. If you have this degree in your chart natally, it's a very powerful one. One of the quotes in this is my Bible. I have a real Bible, but like, let's be real. That book is heavily edited and way, way pieced together to encourage fear. This book is just a book of symbols that you can hallucinate to, and that's kind of my jam. This is the 360 Degrees of Wisdom by Linda Hill, and it is so torn up because I devour this book. I've made a stack of flashcards so I can memorize Sabian symbols and just have them instantly in my head. That's kind of my project for winter. It's a very Rain Man project of mine to go with. But so is tracking the moon and making a spreadsheet of every single Chiefs game in the moon, which I'm almost done with, by the way. I'm like 20 seasons in on the data, so I'm doing it all by hand, okay? I don't want to hear this, like, just use AI. No, because it'll fuck it all up. And I need to know that if anyone fucked it up, it's going to be me. And then it's my fault. And then that's that. But yeah, I don't think the weather is going to be anything today. But the 12 degree of Aquarius is that hierarchy thing. And then one of the quotes is, you cannot push anyone up the ladder unless he is willing to climb himself. I don't know what person with late degree fixed placements and Uranus either joining them in late degree Taurus or squaring them in Leo or Aquarius or opposing them in Scorpio needs to hear this. You cannot push anyone up the ladder unless he is willing to climb himself. And yeah, Andrew Carnegie said that. And are the Carnegies the best people? Probably not, but who cares? Don't bother just to be better than your contemporaries or predecessors. Try to be better than yourself. That's from William Faulkner, and we can all agree that he was a pretty legit dude. It's something about forcing people to fucking do what you want them to do. That's not the move. We're not here on this earth or on this planet or in this universe, wherever you want to, designate yourself living. We're not here to do this whole let's intervene with somebody else's karma so I can be your guru and savior. We're not doing that. That's not the vibe. That's not the mood. We can't intervene or interfere with other people's karma. That's a huge, huge, huge thing. And karma, once again, not bad or good. It's simply their path. It's their path. It's their choices. It's whatever they want to choose. You can't make somebody do it, And this is a lesson for me too, as I am my father's caretaker, and forcing someone to be healthy and care and like do all their meds and like work out and have all this energy while they're simply just trying to recover from major surgeries. I get it. You can't force people to do it. So I'm really working on that myself. So if you needed a reminder, hey, there you go. Going into that first house. So let's go into get into the game chart. I feel like I look like Kevin Smith right now without the beard. It's fine. We do have Pallas Athena today on the ascendant at that 12 degree. And that to me is very poignant. It's all about the knowledge, it's all about the information and the energy that you put into this game, whether it's prep, whether it's like stealing signs, whether it's stealing game tape. I'm just kidding. I'm not going to accuse the Colts of anything. I had a hard enough time today figuring out when the Colts fucking started as a franchise because we have not played them in the era of me doing astrology charts, I guess. Or if we did, I just saved them weird, and or I didn't save it because I don't like the Colts. They have ruined my childhood or my young adult life so much that I'm just like, screw you guys. Also randomly used to be friends with a Colts guy that would like text me all caps about the Colts, and I'm like, I do not care about this. I don't know if I need to tell you that I don't care, but please stop updating me about your team in the middle of shit Indianapolis, Indiana. Win or lose, we don't live in Indiana, so it's a really big win for Chiefs fans. Good God. I lived in Indiana for a year during boarding school, and I developed a drug and alcohol problem, so there's that. Thank God I finally found marijuana, though. All right, so that Pallas Athena, like I said, the downloads, the information, everything that comes through in an Aquarian way, where whether it's like one of the coaches had a dream and he fell asleep at a team meeting and woke up with this dream, and he's like, guys, this is what we need to do. Fire Matt Nagy. Who knows what divine inspiration is going to come from today, but there's something about like an overseer, a visionary, or somebody being like this extra set of eyes or extra set of like an outside consultant almost, but maybe not. Who knows? I'm really going all in on this Pallas Athena, and I'm proud of myself because asteroids are something that I've been learning to implement more in sports astrology, thanks to the amazing Empress Atlantis for encouraging that. So jumping past this Pallas Athena, which I cannot seem to get my mind away from, probably because my Pallas Athena is in Aquarius at 7 degrees, and it's my Pallas Athena return. So I'm clearly hyped up about it. The North Node in the first house, as well as Saturn retrograde in the first house, I am going to go ahead and say that this game is going to be frustrating. Like, if you were tired of the slow starts and the frustrating part of being like visible for every single one of these Chiefs games, like in the last 2 years, it's been very, very stressful finishes, or things where the Chiefs like drag it till the end and give you some sort of cardiac workout happening while you watch the team. So you just never know, right? And Aquarius, it's electric, and Uranus is in the third house, and it's loosely squaring the rising right there at the beginning of the fourth house. So I feel like today's going to be pretty fired up. Not only are we back at Arrowhead, but the Kansas City Chiefs are looking to win this game, so they have a fighting chance of being in the playoffs. Rough out here for Chiefs fans, and as you can tell right here, I've got my Chiefs hat on. I feel like this was made for me though. Come on. Stars, Chiefs, like, thanks guys. I know you watch my show each week to figure out your game plan, so appreciate the acknowledgement of it. But Saturn retrograde conjunct Neptune retrograde, Saturn in that first house and Neptune in that second house. I do think the first part of the game and the pacing and the energy of it all is going to be a little bit blurry, going to be a little bit foggy. The North Node in Pisces in that first house, kicking is everything for this game. So it might be a game of kicks. It might be a game of miss kits. The doinks could be out today. We'll just see for each team how that shows up. The second house is intercepted as well as the eighth house. So this is going to be a tricky one if you are trying to spend money. You guys can see my Starbucks order. I just realized that. Grande iced vanilla protein cold foam latte with whole milk because I'm Nordic and it doesn't bother me. Like, I'm not going to drink nut milk. That sounds fucking disgusting, you guys. Come on. What are we doing here? Um, you know, going into the intercepted second house and eighth house, I have to say that, like, be careful with your money because now that I've appeared not only on Bet Sweats, but BetMGM actually retweeted me last night. And I'm like, what? Oh, okay. Hey. But BetMGM Network is where the show Bet Sweats is. So yeah, it was really weird being like, yeah, MGM, like the casino, the movie studio. Holy shit. It was mind blowing. Knowing that I'm the most I said this to my mom on Friday. I was like, knowing that I'm the most famous person in our family is mildly terrifying. Like, okay. I do have a way more famous great 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 uncle, James Milholland, that invented the steel tire for railroad cars. Like, he has the patent for it and all that. And that was pretty big one. He's in the Smithsonian, as well as William the Conqueror, if you're into Norman history on my dad's side. Yeah, so it's real fun, and I was just like looking at all the different like parts of how I showed up on networks and TV the last 10 years of my life. Yeah, the last 10 years. I really got big visibility wise in 2015 when the Royals won the World Series. I was mouthing off about it. I was with all the who's who of Kansas City back then in sports media. I was friends with all them. So it was just kind of like a wild ride. But now 10 years later, I'm known for being a witch. And I think that's way fucking cooler. So if little me could see me now, she'd be like, damn, you really went full blast with that hippie thing, huh? I was always so apprehensive. I thought I had to be this like president of the United States, conquer the world, Capricorn stellium and Virgo stellium. I was very articulate, as well as also had a speech impediment. So that was hard the beginning part of my life. And then once I figured out how to talk and was fully forming sentences properly, never stopped. That Gemini moon yaps. So very much think it's fucking cool as hell that I get to do all this stuff. And I'm the first in my family to really be front facing on camera the way that I am all the time. So you're welcome, ancestors. I hope I am doing you proud. Having that second house and eighth house intercepted, though, like we're talking about, like, I now that I'm on these betting networks, I got to say bet responsibly, but also like, don't do it if you don't have it. It's like the biggest part of, I guess, betting responsibly. The part of today that I say is going to be tricky is that Neptune retrograde, stationed at the prismatic degree of 29 degrees Pisces, conjunct Ceres in Aries, and Chiron in Aries, stationed retrograde in that second house. So today's game, let's be careful about heads and feet. That Neptune and Pisces retrograde in the second house. Heads, we talked about being ruled by Aries last week. We talked about the fact that concussion protocol is going to be something that they are revamping in the NFL, as well as hopefully like the teams are just doing better than they used to. And like someone would get hit by a bulldozer of human and then be like, you're good, just get back out there. You'll be fine. So with that Chiron and Aries, I just hope that everyone stays safe and everyone's heads are nice and protected. Going into that second house, though, we do see that ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter is retrograde in the sixth house in Cancer. So we're almost to Jupiter in Cancer shifting into Leo, and that won't happen until June 2026, but it's in the next 6 months, so that's close. Having Jupiter in Cancer being such a luminary driven placement, since Cancer is ruled by the moon is a big factor for today, especially for second house, sixth house, and 10th house and 11th house. So those are all going to be in a way ruled by the moon, and the moon is in Capricorn. Does the moon like being in Capricorn? No, it does not. Feels very much watched, judged, and like there's so much internal and external pressure that the person has a hard time, in life. But once they learn that life is not all doldrums and they can get out of those places and they learn to express joy no matter what phase, season, era, whatever you want to call it, they're in, life gets better. And to say that like Capricorn is an energy where there's no celebration and no joy, that's so wrong. Like Capricorn celebrate in a way that goes so hard. Like all my Capricorn friends rage with me. Like my mom and I stayed up on 420 once to like 6 a.m. just smoking weed. And I'm like, oh my God, I need to go home. And she was just up cackling. And like, she's a 29-degree Capricorn sun. She's got some energy in her. She's got that Capricorn drive. So they do have fun. They know how to have fun. They do it well. They usually spend some money having fun. And it's a good time. But knowing that Capricorn moon impacts so much of today's game with that second house being intercepted, sixth house being ruled by the moon, and 10th house and 11th house both being ruled by Jupiter, it's important to just look at it and say, hey, this is going to be, I think 9 is going to be how much the Chiefs win today by. We'll just go ahead and throw that in there as I'm just looking at this chart still. I am spending a large amount of time talking about the chart because there's a ton of transits. There's that grand water trine with Jupiter retrograde and Saturn and Neptune retrograde, as well as Mercury retrograde and Venus in Scorpio. So there's a lot of water energy. There's a lot of emotions going on right now. Let's go ahead and pull up the opponent chart for today's game, and that way we can start looking at the chart that I had such a hard time with. But the opponent chart shows that the Colts have the moon in Pisces. And this is very fitting. I'll tell you why. Look, Jim Irsay has been like hilarious as a person that grew up with him being the Colts owner, watched him go through some ups and downs, RIP of course, but there's so much about this Colts team that I was like excited to see what their chart looks like. I couldn't remember what I did. And even if I did this chart, right, even if I said the Colts, let's go and say that they, like Irsay ownership took over in 1972. So it was July 13th, 1972. Of course I know this because now these dates are ingrained in my mind when Robert Irsay took over. And that was still in Baltimore. I had no idea. Like I knew because I watched the 30 for 30 about Elway not wanting to go to the Colts and causing all these fucking problems. John Elway is like number one enemy in my head. John Elway, thanks for ruining my childhood, and also fuck you. Hold on. John Elway didn't ruin my childhood, okay? I'll just go ahead and say that because I was laughing too hard when that happened and I started getting got. But John Elway had that whole draft thing where he's like, I don't want to go to the Colts. And then the Colts are like, fuck you, you're coming to Baltimore. And he's like, I'm not going to Baltimore. And so that's all I really knew, that the Colts were in Baltimore at one point. But I guess then this is like me just figuring this out. I guess what happened is that in the middle of the night at on the night of March 28th, like the Colts decided, or the Ursays decided to say, get all these Mayflower moving trucks and we're going to pack up our shit and we're heading to Indianapolis. They got the ability to be an NFL team wherever, and they chose Indianapolis. That is not the actual full story, but it made me laugh because we had an actual time of 2 a.m. on March 29th, 1984 is when they were finally done packing up everything. Like, all I have to say is God bless the scribes of history. The people who wrote down the exact times, the people that kept track of what hour or time of day it was in their articles. Like, God bless all the people that are the timekeepers of this world. Do I want to be one? No. Am I one? Yes, because of astrology. So the people that are out there that get the exact birth times for babies in the hospitals, you guys are the true MVPs. The people that get the actual kickoff times for every single game, you guys are the true MVPs. Like, I went back to 1892 and found the exact time of kickoff for Georgia football's very first game in 1892, and it was all because somebody with a notepad decided, you know what, I'm gonna write down that this game was at 3 o'clock, and that's when it kicked off and all the cheering started. So yeah, but yeah, God bless those people. I went ahead with the Colts chart and did their arrival date in Indianapolis. So March 29th, 1984, the Mayflower trucks all took different routes from Baltimore to get to Indianapolis, and they just arrived in such an Ursay way that I'm like, this is perfect. So noon chart, March 29th, 1984, on a Thursday, and they have their moon and Lilith conjunct at 8 degrees Pisces, and that is what I think is going to be a very impactful placement for today's game. So today's game, we mentioned the 11 degree and what that means and the Sabian symbols and how that all plays out through this amazing book. Maybe it emerges today that someone was doing some meditation and they figured out how to win the game. There could be conversations around that for sure. But let's go back to the Colts chart, which I keep jumping away from. This is the first time I have fully looked at the chart. I literally just pulled this up right before I went live because I was like, fuck it, I'll do it live. The Pallas Athena for today's game for the Colts is right there in the first house, as well as Lilith, the moon, and Venus. Their Venus is exalted at the diabolical degree of 18, which is very interesting just because that's a very feisty degree, and to have that, it's a Virgo ruled degree, and to have that in the first house of today's game, I feel like it's going to be feisty for him. Not only is it going to be feisty, but today is going to be quite emotional. So we're going to see the emotions play out in a way that's probably way more Scorpio like than Pisces. It's not going to be this victim. It could be this victim thing. The Colts could easily play victim in this game, but the really big test is going to be in that second house. If they do play victim, or if the Colts do start the game being emotional. March 29th, 1984. No way. Oh my gosh. This is your team. The Colts are the Colts are yours. Congratulations. I definitely see that there's going to be time for the Colts to really rally behind these emotionally charged placements of theirs. Having a Pisces moon, I think, is a really, really indicative. It's a big indication. There we go. Indicative. I can say words. Damn it. First thing in the morning. This, like, I never drink coffee. Maybe it's the coffee that's got me like, definitely not the cannabis. Cannabis is the calming one. But it, like, Pisces moon conjunct Lilith exactly. This is totally, if this chart were a person, this is a person who says, I'm going to protect my boundaries and I am not going to put up with your bullshit. So congratulations if this is anywhere near your chart, because having a Pisces moon in conjunct Lilith is like, I'm not putting up with your bad standards. I have my own. I will leave in the middle of the night. You will not find me. I will take 10 different routes from Baltimore to Indianapolis just to hide all the evidence. You cannot catch us all together. Like, this 8-degree moon, it's one of my most recognizable Sabian symbols. So when I see 8 degrees in a chart, I know this as the whistleblower degree. And while this is also the whistleblower degree, 8 degree is known as a girl blowing a bugle. So it's like somebody blowing the horns, trumpeting, blowing the whistle on someone else. The 9 degree is all about competition. So it's all about a jockey on a horse trying to outdistance his rival. I mean, I could just, read it to you guys. And then the 10 degree is one of my favorites. It's an aviator in the clouds. It's all about travel. But 8 degrees, a girl blowing a bugle. 9 degrees is the race begins, intent on outdistancing his rivals. A jockey spurs his horse to great speed. I love that this is for the colts. Like this is a horse degree. So this to me is loudly the colts chart. Just when I saw that, I was like, oh shit, well, I guess this really is, the colts birth chart. So I'm glad that this is the case. 10 degrees Pisces is an aviator in the clouds. If you guys want to see that one, that's what the book looks like. So these are points of the like a chart where you can easily draw up competition, but it's also about making sure that you are speaking the truth, telling the truth, and sharing the truth as much as you can at all times. This is also where my Mercury is. So part of my Saturn return karma was learning that all your words that you've ever said come back to you, which is great if you're out here like sharing great messages, like believe in yourself and there's never too late to start a new adventure, things like that. If you share those kind of words, oh my gosh, the rewards that come back to you is like that type of reward energy is so powerful, and you get blessed in the form of people, you get blessed in the form of opportunity, you just get blessed, and it's such a powerful thing. I'm so glad that you found my live stream today. This is great. uh Also, if you guys are following on YouTube, you can leave comments and join in the chat. I'm super appreciative when you do that, mostly because YouTube rewards those who have active yapping audiences. So the more that people can see me, the more that people can see my work, the better. And it is helping a small business owner by sharing their work. And it's free. It's free to share all the work that I do. So please, if you can, like, subscribe, follow, share. I think I'm doing it right. All right, cool. Going into that second house, which I mentioned was intercepted, this is where the colts are going to have some problems with their core vitality and their communication. Already they have their sun and Mercury in Aries. That little hook over there, I'm like doing the thing off camera, the little hook sign to the left of the sun glyph, which is the circle with the dot with the Aries symbol in red. That is Ceres. Also is the Colt Ceres return, so that'll be interesting. The way that they have been nurturing their bodies and minds is the way that they are going to express themselves on the field today physically. So also the second house is what rules over vocalization. So I know that there's like, it's like a thing in not only in the NFL, but it's all sports. You're gonna mouth off. You're gonna say shit about the other team. You're gonna say things that are like maybe not the nicest, but because of that, it's also that kind of thing of karma. So when people mouth off beforehand or they say shit about the team beforehand, that's usually when they get caught up by the vocalization, and we see that in the second and the third house. I don't know if anyone's been saying anything from the Colts or talking shit before the game from the Colts, but if that's the case, expect it to show up in the form of physicality, possibly through the feet, head, or throat area. I'm not sure how that applies if someone's going to get like I don't know, clotheslined like by their against their throat, or someone has a problem with a throat thing. Who knows? But definitely with the second house, we're all about pacing, and I think the Neptune, Ceres, and Chiron placements of today in the second house for the game could indicate not paying attention to feet well enough, or not being aware of like head injuries, or being fooled by if somebody is actually cleared and capable of playing. something along those lines where it's just a little bit blurry. An intercepted house with Neptune retrograde in it is already going to be a little bit wonky. But going to the third house for today's game, we do see the third house starting at 4 degrees Taurus, which is the placement for the Chiefs' Venus. So it'll be interesting to see if it's on the second or third house. Chiron for the Colts is going to be exactly conjunct Uranus retrograde. This is a big one just because I think that this comes out in the form of play calling for the Colts. Not sure how, but I think that the Colts might have a weakness in vocalization, mostly because I've been studying a certain irritating coach's birth chart this week. I just did it on Friday, and the more I look at the chart, the more annoyed I get. So, always fun. The Chiron here, conjunct Uranus retrograde, is pretty telling that I think it's just going to be a communication thing, and it is short distance travel for the Colts. Coming from Indianapolis to Kansas City, I think it's pretty short distance. It's 5 hours. So to me, that's light work travel wise. So it's to me a shorter distance. But this still is an astrology chart for the whole game, and I can't just talk about one side. So I'm going to keep going so we can talk about the tri-wheel, which is where we're going to have a lot more fun. And then I'll get to the players charts, and then we'll go over the prediction. I do have the Chiefs winning by 9 today. So if you are wondering how I feel about the game, I'm wearing a Chiefs hat. So that could tell you how I feel about the game. But I am always, I don't have any wood. I am always prepared for the fact that astrology is always about so many different truths at once. So we are just looking at the fine print, and the moon has been helping me a lot track the scores. That's why I bring up the moon when I'm talking about my score predictions. But one second. I ran out of water early today, so I'm coffee it is. I will get water after this, but yes, coffee is going to help me have such a productive Sunday, and I'm let's freaking go. Going into that fourth house, that is where we see the home team represented in my version of sports astrology. Other people might see the home team other ways. I just look at the houses and how they relate to sports and how they relate to a live sporting event. It changes. I'm growing. I'm evolving. It's part of being on camera. It's part of being somebody that is more, I would say, open and adaptable than others. I talk about, I like being right, but I'm right about so many things outside of the score and who wins that it's usually okay, cool. This is what I learned. This is what I'm going to take into the next one. Going to that fourth house, like I said, it is ruled by Mercury as it starts at 0 degrees Gemini, and Mercury is retrograde in that 9th house. So interestingly enough, I think that this slows things down for the Kansas City Chiefs. They do have the moon and Mercury opposite Venus and Mercury retrograde today, so we'll see how that plays out. And this isn't about the Chiefs, it's about the Colts. The Colts have Juno and the North Node conjunct in that 4th house. So the key today to the Colts having any sort of chance against the Chiefs is going to come down to hands and communication, lungs and arms. That is what Gemini rules over, as well as being just such a brainiac sign. So when you have these big mercurial placements in a chart, because they do have Juno, North Node, and Vesta all in Gemini, that is so much of taking care of your mental as well. So you come for the sports astrology, you get astrology knowledge whether you like it or not. That's part of my charm. And I'm a Gemini moon, so that's why it makes sense to hype up the Geminis. It's I didn't like Geminis at all. I openly was against it, them being a part of my life from most, I would enjoy them as casual friends, but I could never be close to them. I did date one Gemini, and we were fake engaged. And we just partied all the time together. And then I was like, I don't like you anymore. And he's like, cool, I don't like you either. And I was like, great, bye. But of course there's drama, because with Gemini placements, there's always drama. But having my 12th house ruled by Gemini, I'm like, no wonder I can't stand you guys. So whatever sign rules over your 12th house, chances are you don't like them. But it's just part of you that you get to embody and learn to embody. And it's so much fun. And that's if you use Placidus. I know some people use whole sign, and that's fine too. But I choose to use Placidus just because the degrees matter so much. In that 0 degree Gemini at the beginning of the 4th house, since we are talking about the signs, or excuse me, the placements that rule over the houses, you know, 0 degrees Gemini is one of the most psychic degrees out there. It is like this divine inner knowing that comes from above, around, wherever, other realms. And 0 degrees Gemini is known as the most psychic degree in the entire zodiac. So if you have placements at 0 or 1 degrees or even 29 degrees Taurus, you have that 0 degree Gemini impact in your chart. So very, very cool to see. This does mean, in my opinion, that the Chiefs are going to be a little bit more psychic today. They might have been spending a lot of time with each other for some reason, like them being 5-5 and shit not going well. I think that the main thing today is channeling energy properly for both sides, especially with that mental drive and that Mercury being completely and totally wonky and Mercury retrograde at 24 degrees Scorpio. That will station at 20 degrees Scorpio. And thank you, Marie. I hope you have a great Thanksgiving too. And thank you for your time, whatever time you've been able to be here. I hope you have an amazing, amazing holiday season, because I really view, like, I get a whole, I'm going to get distracted here and I'm sorry, you guys. This is just what happens. I get a whole week off driving in circles to pick up and drop off my children. And they get a whole week off of what they call their government job, where they go to school here. We have great public schools, and it's very much a well-rounded education here. Like, my daughter went to Japan for her 7th grade trip, and I'm like, oh, that's normal. But no, it's not. And it's a very big honor that we're able to do that for her. And so we have these great schools here, but they do call them their government jobs. And I think it's hilarious, because if I could have like gone back and used that term, I would have done so abso-freaking-lutely. But we get time off, and time at home with my family is literally all I care about. I love them. I love being around them, and I'm learning how to be grateful for this time as, you know, a stay-at-home mom, because that wasn't always the case. A lot of you know me from being, somebody thought my initials GAT stood for girl about town, because they're like, well, she's just the girl about town. And I'm like, what does that mean? And it was my friend's parents who were like, she's a socialite. I'm like, I'm a socialite? That's fucking amazing. I've always wanted to be a socialite. I'm a 10th house sun, 11th house moon and Venus, 10th house Jupiter too. Like, sure, that'll be my job, just showing up radically myself. Hell yeah. So now I'm an astrology socialite. But I stay at home, and I only show up on your TVs or monitors or phones as a random character in random settings that I keep happening to find myself in. So who knows where the world will take me next, but I'm so grateful to have been showing up on your guys' screens, and whatever time you're allowed to spend here with me, because sometimes people are fucking busy. I have a friend of mine, Celeste, that works like night shift right now. So like whenever she gets a chance to tune in, I'm always like, oh my God, I gave you a shout out. I hope you heard it. And it's like, okay, cool. Hope you're doing well. I will not be live streaming the game. I will be watching the game with the love of my life, because I'm just kind of like a bum when it comes to live streaming games. I'm not good at reacting. My face is like horrible. So if the announcers were saying something, I'd just be like, Tony Romo, shut up. Like, that's the man who should be in silence today, okay? If we happen to have fucking Tony Romo again, I'm gonna scream. I never thought I'd be happy to listen to Joe Buck, but I'm like, shut the fuck up, Tony Romo. Tony Roma's had the best ribs. You're not even the coolest Tony whatever. Horrible insult. I tried. It's the coffee. Whatever. I don't have caffeine usually. All right. Going back to the chart, the psychicness of the Chiefs, who knows, but the Colts are going to have to play into that as well. And having Juno conjunction North Node in Gemini is very much joining of psychic energy and a boost from Juno, as that is the asteroid commitment, intense relationships, all that kind of thing. The Colts will be able to keep the fire alive today by having their Vesta at that 23 degrees Gemini in the 5th house. That is the placement of where they keep the fire and energy alive. That's going to be in their creativity. So the Colts are going to be forced to be a little bit creative. Can they execute that creativity? Who knows? Like that doesn't mean that they're going to be good at it. That just means they're going to have to be creative. They're going to have to be cerebral in order to outlast it. 5th house being empty but ruled by Mercury retrograde is horrible fucking news, because the refs are in the 5th house. The refs, to me, are the 5th house. The team is the 11th house. So gambling and hobbies and all that stuff are 5th house, but the refs to me show up there. And having the 5th house ruled at 22 degrees Gemini, and that is at the killer be killed degree of Gemini, and Mercury being 24 degrees Pisces ruled degree retrograde in Scorpio. This will be interesting. Whoever has the like clearest root chakra is gonna be great this game. Esperanza, oh my gosh, hi. I am such a fan of anyone that is doing tarot work. What a time to be a tarot reader. I feel like tarot readers right now and people that are in tune with the tarot are like the true heroes of 2025. You guys are single-handedly getting everyone the messages they need for the growth that they need and those types of shifts that are coming with all this energy in 2025. So thank you so much for jumping in here. Yes. Oh my gosh. You're talking about payouts involving the refs. Do I have a story for you? There was a time in 1985 that the Kansas City Royals were playing in the World Series, and the 5th house also happens to rule over the mafia and secret organizations, right? Esperanza mentioned that a lot of gambling and payouts involve the refs. So yes, 1985 World Series. I know for a fact. This is crazy to just randomly bring this up on a live stream, but I'm like, screw it. I've had some coffee today. I know for a fact, because I know the guy who was involved personally, that the crime family here in Kansas City, one of the crime families, I'm not going to mention who, a very well-known crime family here, fixed the 1985 World Series. I'm probably going to get shadow banned on YouTube for saying this, but I know the guy, and he told me the story of bringing the bags of money to the umpire that made the swing call in the 1985 World Series that caused the Royals to win. Isn't that nuts? Also just got water just now, so I'm not going to be solely run on coffee. Thank you so much. But yeah, casually mentioning the story of a mob family here in Kansas City fixing the World Series, and I know the guy who did it. Crazy. Absolutely nuts. And it's real. It's true. And I'm just waiting for the right person to figure out, like, this is a $1 billion movie idea. You could make a whole, like, anonymous series on it. Like, but absolutely 5th house refs getting paid off. We can't ignore this shit, right? We can't ignore this shit. So wild times, but I'm like, this is such a real thing. So that Vesta there in the 5th house does not only represent the creativity of the game, it is also representing keeping a fire alive. So it might be a fire with the refs, it might be a fire or an offering, because Vesta, let's be real, the Vestal virgins, they were offering their virtuousness, their cleanliness of spirit through being a Vestal virgin. Obviously the celibacy is kind of implied there. by keeping that fire alive. And that's very much an offering to whatever. So you have to look at Vesta as what somebody is keeping alive through an offering. So very much you never know if it comes out that there's an Indianapolis crime family that fixed this game so the Chiefs didn't have a chance in the fucking playoffs. I called it here first. Yeah, I'm having way too much fun with this, but going into that sixth house where it is ruled by the moon is in Capricorn. We are looking at bones today. I like that I just randomly dropped like casual mafia Kansas City lore, and I know that the 1985 World Series is fixed and the guy who helped do it. And I'm not offering any other details. I'm just gonna roll on by that and hope. I hope somebody watches this that like sees that and they're like, "What the fuck, Gracey?" Oh my god, I love it. But the moon is important today. The bones of this game are going to be huge. Does this indicate people with high emotions or, that don't know how to do the Capricorn masking of sorts? Of everything is fine. I've got this. I'm just going to climb higher, go bigger, do more. That is like the Capricorn way. Like, oh, I don't belong here with you people anymore. Cool, I'll just go do my own thing. So, seeing that moon rules over the sixth house, I do think there is going to be a little bit of skeletal or bone work issues today. Hopefully, everyone has had all their calcium and gets proper nutrients, and you don't have to worry about that. But, there's other things where could be just like a mental stuck thing. They just have to climb higher. So emotionally be above it is what the message of today's game is. But the Colts don't have anything in the 6th, 7th, and then barely in the 8th house. So right at the end of that 8th house, we see the Pluto, and Pluto does happen to be a transformative big placement in outer generational kind of thing. So like Scorpio and Pluto generation, the millennials, we know what happened to us. We're all fucked up. Don't need to go into all of the millennial problems. Like, thanks a lot. We get all these fucking problems. We get to see the fall and rise of this wall in Germany, and then we have all these problems in the early 90s in the United States with all this terroristic activity from the cops against civilians. And then late 90s, things are starting to get better. Then we think Y2K is going to kill us. And then, oh, bam, not Y2K. It's 9/11. And then the economy fucks up. And then we're all sitting there like, how do we get jobs? Like, you can tell that I'm a millennial. And it's just so many like psyops after psyops. And I'm so like, is any of this real? So I just laugh about it now because you have to. But that very beginning part of Pluto and Scorpio, and the fact that Jim Irsay just said fuck, or Robert Irsay, the Irsay family just said fuck it, we're leaving Baltimore. I just love that for them. I love that journey for them, and I'm happy for them. Going into that 8th house, yeah, it's intercepted. It's wonky. Bets today are going to be wonky, especially the fact that bets on Libra could really be wonky. I'm just glad that Mahomes' son is not in the 8th intercepted house. We got him in the 7th house of today's game. I did not put the vertex and part of fortune on today's game, so I do have it on, I think, my phone. So today's game, I'm going to pull up the vertex so that way you guys can like, I talked about this. I like how I talk about it on Bet MGM. I'm like, the vertex of today's game is going to be incredible. And then I just don't show it in the chart. The vertex of today's game, I'm going to write this down for myself, is at 7 degrees Virgo. And part of fortune is at 19 degrees Pisces. Okay. I bring that up because it's important that we look at those placements to like see where there can be joy and like spiritual gain. The joy is part of fortune. The vertex is doors opening and closing, pivotal people, key people or key energies, like vertex being in Virgo today. That's why I mentioned Mahomes taking this all on his back. If you found me off BetMGM, that's where I mentioned it this week on Bet Sweats, and then I wanted to be able to back that up with like actual information. So there you go. And then the part of fortune and Pisces, like I said, kicking is going to be like, I think, the key to the game. So one of my theories about the part of fortune and Earth is that Earth in the, I'm going to do, this is ridiculous. I really need to like have some sort of like pointer system, and that way, you guys could actually see what I'm doing instead of making these symbols. This is terrible. Part of fortune is this like little symbol right here, and then Earth symbol is right there. So I think the part of fortune is the key to the Earth, or key to your mission on Earth this lifetime. Because why do they look the same if they're not related and work together? So we don't really see Earth in our charts because we're on Earth, but if you were to go outside of it and be like, where is Earth in my chart? Earth would be in this way and in this place. Then that would be the symbol for Earth. But they're too much alike. So the key to the game today is going to be the part of fortune, and that is at 19 degrees Pisces. That is going to be in that huge Pisces pileup for the Colts there in the first house. So their exalted Venus at 18 degrees is going to be conjunct that part of fortune. That could also be an indicator. Let me wrap up the Colts so we can get to the Chiefs. I think I'm just going to throw up the tri-wheel at this point because I've been yapping. I've been breaking down the whole game for you guys with this Colts chart up, but that Pluto right at the end of the 8th house, I do think is going to be somewhat important just for the ability to transform or to beat the odds, so to speak. Going into that 9th house, they do have Saturn retrograde and Mars conjunct the MC for today's game, but that Mars is going to be conjunct Mercury retrograde. I think that does kind of like mess things up a little bit, although their Mars is going to also be conjunct Patrick Mahomes' Pluto, so that'll be interesting. All right. They have Neptune and Jupiter also there in the 11th house. So I think that Neptune in conjunct Vesta today's game will give them some spiritual hope. They will be sticking in this one. And then that Jupiter and Moon conjunction could give them some blind faith in their abilities, but it also could give them some like emotional abundance or an overflowing of emotions, if you will. And do Capricorn placements, especially Moon and Capricorn, like an overflow of emotions? No, they don't. All right. Let's just pull up this chart. Tri-wheel. That way you guys can just see everything I'm talking about. Take a break for a second of me yapping so I can drink some water versus this coffee because I drank all my water this morning. At least I'm hydrated, right? And my YouTube famous man got me my water, so that was even more amazing. Yay. All right. So I have my notebook, my handy dandy notepad. I am basically Steve from Blue's Clues. That was such a fun show. I love that dude. All right. Speaking of millennials, all the millennials were like, thank God. Thank God. He's back. He gave us a message. The message is to love each other. We don't want to do that. We just want to fight on the internet about who should pay for the first date and are women too expensive. Like, if you guys don't know by now, whatever energy you pour into a woman in your life or the woman in your life, you get back tenfold. Like, whatever it is that you do for her or whatever it is that you do with her or however you treat her or however you prioritize her is how your life goes. And it's like so much of that is like treat the women in your life with respect. I mentioned the 7 degree of Virgo in the vertex of today's game. That degree of Virgo showed up in the chart that I read on Bet Sweats. The host, Joe, if you guys saw the clip, he needs foot surgery, right? And he doesn't know that he needs, or he hasn't told anyone that he needs it. He has simply just needed it for a while, and it's like, okay, this guy clearly had like a ton of Pisces placements, and so I called it out. Let me see if I have it so I can just play it instead of just be like, did you guys see this? Okay, I'll send it to myself. This is live action, you guys. I'm so good at this too. Absolutely love it. Adding a video source. I'm so cool. And I didn't mean to do this, but like as I was reading his chart, I like kept getting this thing like, oh my gosh, you need to talk about
travel the world.
So let's listen.
If anybody on that show, I would guess that would be Paul Aspen, because he's a man that's traveled the world. I have not done much traveling, I would say so, yet in my life. But man, that's interesting. Feet. That doesn't mean feet finder, right?
No, not at all. That is definitely more of like you are active with your feet. You're either on your feet a lot, you're running around a lot, but you do have to take care of your feet. They are a sense of spiritual connection for you.
I guess I should get that.
Don't you need foot surgery? Don't you need? You need foot surgery. Yeah. He does. He actually needs foot surgery.
Are you serious? Yes. That's wild. You need to take care of your feet. They're a very crucial part to your life.
Oh, man.
So there you have it. That was live on the show. I was just like, you need to take care of your feet, bro. And he listened, thank God, because I think he's getting that foot surgery, and that's definitely going to make his life better. And I was like, yeah, you haven't traveled the world, bud, because you have a fucked up foot. You can't go travel the world with a bad foot. You think the universe is going to allow that? You got to fix the little problems so you can have an abundant life. It's just like me cleaning out the front closet of our house for the first time since 2000. I don't want to say 2002 because that'd be a stretch, but I did find an airplane ticket from 2002 in there, and I'm like, what are we doing? Yeah, Esperanza said we are the moon, we reflect, or we go dark. Pisces placements are wild right now with that Saturn and Neptune. Absolutely. Saturn bones, Pisces feet. Yep. It's when I predicted all the injuries last year for the Chiefs, and I'm like, guys, it's Capricorn rising. Saturn is in the 6th house, and or it's not 6th house, but Saturn was in one of the houses. I think it was the 2nd, 3rd. And I was like, we have a problem here. And it could be that the communication's wonky. And then it was like Rashid Rice like runs into Travis Kelce and hurts himself. And it's like, no. But all sorts of things can be predicted from knowing medical astrology too. I did mention that on the show. I don't know what alien council is watching me right now, but I can only imagine what it looks like when I'm like, I'm going to go on this male-dominant sports show and just talk about witchy, strange things, and they're going to love it. And I'm going to predict their future. I'm going to call out whatever they need to know about themselves. And they're going to love it. And it just works. And the aliens are like, so she's just out here talking about all this occult knowledge and esoteric insight just out on mainstream media. And I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing. But I think it's great that other people have started to find the people of this world that also speak the language of the stars. I have felt a huge responsibility for other people my whole life. I do have a Mars in the 7th house in Capricorn, so that's not a surprise, but like the others have always been a part of my stress and worries. I've always cared too much about other people, and so now I'm like, fuck it, I'm just going to be myself and not care about anything. I'm wearing one of my Real Housewives of Orange County's sweatshirt today, and it's good morning, friends and haters, and it's such a vibe. I'm like, yeah, that's exactly it. Like, you're going to have friends, you're going to have haters, you're going to have friends that are haters, you're going to have people who also love you so much that are like so in awe of what you do every day that they are going to drown out every single one of those people that suck and want to just focus on you and all your magic instead of I don't know, looking inside every once in a while, but that is what it is. Today's game, I had already mentioned the 11 is going to be huge. So we're going to have a lot of 11s and multiples of 11s. Esperanza says, I have a lot of clients who are mainly men farmers. I get it. See, and male farmers, I think, like work with the earth. So they should know Mother Nature is in charge and that earth is a woman and the universe is this like big receptive and giving type of energy. And I think like it has to be male and female. Like a battery doesn't work without the positive and negative, and not saying that men or women are positive or negative, but like the moon and sun, it's like this divine alchemical marriage, and that's the philosopher's stone. So there's that. But like a lot of people just think I'm a service level astrologer that just like is like Aries rules the head and is also ruled by Mars. Here's this and this and this, because I do a lot of like vague general interpretations, but I swear that's not the case. I have too many Pisces placements for me to be surface level. So sorry. There is something about that 11 today. Like I mentioned, there is going to be that multiple. So we're going to go ahead and start off the numbers to watch for with that 11. I should also mention that I don't do these in order, and then I have to go back and put them in order because of just who I am as a person. So I'm going off of the game chart, and that is going to be this one. So it starts at that 11 degrees, and then all the placements on the inner wheel are the same as the game chart. So if you guys are not familiar with synastry charts, this is a tri-wheel. It's pretty fun. We'll see how it goes. I am going to go ahead and go with 14 being big today as well. 9 is that moon degree, and 1 is where the sun is today. So I'm probably going to go back and add to this a little bit as we go. So far, I put them in order. 1, 11, and 14 are going to be the numbers I'm calling out right now. The vertex is at 7 degrees Virgo, so I feel like that one should be in there too, just because Harrison Butker, kicking being a big thing, we're going to need you to have it together today. I do have his chart. I should start pulling up his chart because I talk so much shit, but I love Harrison. I love anyone who stands strongly for what they believe in. Whether I believe in what he believes in or not is not really the question. It's like, I just love people with strong convictions. So, I believe that women are divine ethereal beings that cannot be contained or told what to do. But that's because I have my own personal contract saying that I'm ungovernable. They're ungovernable. Nope, that's not it either, but we'll figure it out one day. I am not able to be governed. There we go. So I'm very much like, you cannot contain me. Seeing the 29 be there with 25, I also want to put 22. So I'm going to put 22, 25, 29. It's going to be a jam-packed game. And that's where I'm going to go ahead and stop for today's game. Now I'm going to add up a few different ones. Let's see. Going in the 30s. And you're not hearing things. I'm just not saying anything. Let's do 33, because I mentioned multiples of 11. So that's just in general. If you see a multiple of 11, yeah, I'll end up redoing this, don't worry. 45, 54. I want to say 23 too, but I'm not going to. 23 probably will have a day though, so watch me not say it, and then it's like bam. And then let's do outside of 66, obviously. 62. Then I'm going to say obviously a 77 and then 95. I believe that Chris Jones is going to get another sack today. So there's that. All right, I'm going to clean that up a little bit. It's all over the place. We got a lot of fucking numbers today. Man, I am on one. I'm just going to say 11 and then any multiple of 11. So that way it clears out part of these, even though I just wrote down 22. 45. And then signs to watch for Aquarius. If only I could sing properly, I would do the dawning of the age of Aquarius, but I am William Shatner with my voice and we'll just say things. Aquarius. Yes. We're going to go ahead and go with that. Pisces. Yes. Taurus. Sure. And then Cancer. Virgo. And Sag. It's your season. Let's go big. All right. My really official and super these things are all around my house, right? I have them in a pile now, but like I keep finding them randomly and I'm like, oh my God, I look like a crazy person with notes everywhere. But that's my little cheat sheet that I'll have. Esperanza mentioned the South Node Uranus 10th house for the Colts. Very much an interesting 10th house for them for sure. I think that the traveling part is going to be like that to me shows up as their fleeing in the middle of the night energy that they had fleeing Baltimore. But in this game with the Sun, Lilith, Mars, and Juno all in Sagittarius there, it's going to be a tough one. It's definitely going to be a tough one. I think they do tend to get stuck here, especially with Lilith conjunct that South Node exactly and Mars conjunct that Uranus retrogrades exactly. You're very, very onto something there for sure. Where the game will be kept alive today is with that moon. So having a moon Investa conjunction is crazy. Like a convection and a conjunction. A close toaster, a convection oven. I wasn't wrong. Look. See, if you want to see how a Pisces Mercury should always work in PR, it's when they can get out of their words and can see the spin. Yes, I was not wrong because I was mentioning a convection oven and a conjunction. Investa is very much like a convection oven. The weather also may be wonky. Yeah, so we mentioned that because at the rising degree, the barometer degree is the solution degree. So Aquarius 13 degrees is where it sounds wild, but I have a very fond love of weathermen and weatherwomen in the Kansas City area. And I got the joy of reading a weather person's chart, and they had not only the unexpected thunderstorm degree of 2 degrees Aquarius, but the 13 degree of Aquarius as well. And I'm like, you were made for the weather. So yeah, today is already foggy here in Kansas City, or it was when I was outside this morning. Could be clearing up by now. But the weather is definitely going to be a little bit wild for today's game. And we're going to see how that plays out. But looking at this tri-wheel, we should start at the first house, so I'll go ahead and do that instead of starting wherever the fuck I feel like, which is what I normally do. It doesn't bode well for others to follow along, so I'll do better. The Pisces stellium for the Colts is going to be in that first house, making this a deeply emotional game for them. Let's be real, this is going to be an emotional game for the Chiefs because they got to win this one. If they want to stay relevant at all this year, it's going to be a game that is important for them to win. So having the Colts so much with Pallas, Lilith, Moon, and Venus all there. And then the part of fortune for today's game is also at 19 degrees. And I don't have that one listed on this chart because I was doing other astrology charts that don't need it. These are all untimed except for that inner wheel. So if I could just have Astro Gold be like, which ones do you want for the original? And we don't want the placements out there for the rest of it, that'd be great. But unless someone from Astro Gold is watching this, big dreams. The 22-degree Saturn there for the first house and the Chiron in Pisces for the first house does indicate that the Chiefs have a chance of getting run over. 22 degrees of any sign is the kill or be killed degree in degree theory. This is a Capricorn ruled degree, and it's very much like, are you going to be the one dominated or the one dominating? And it doesn't always have to be killing, but that's how we say things to people. Oh, you're killing it. You slayed. It's like, why are all these things so violent? Because that's the power of words. But the kill or be killed degree is definitely has earned that name. It is not a degree of the weary. And when you see these placements, you know that they're built from or forged from some sort of metal versus just a stork bottom. These placements are no stranger to the public eye, to public scrutiny as well. So having Saturn in the first house already, to me, is a very responsible individual, but in a transit or event chart, to me, this is more like they show up well. They show up with this running through their veins. Aquarius also happens to rule the circulatory system, and that is how the blood goes all over your body. So feeling it in your veins and feeling that lightning, that supercharge, that electricity of Aquarius in Saturn, or Saturn in Aquarius, but Aquarius and Saturn being such a great team as Saturn is at home in Aquarius in Capricorn, it is a more supercharged feeling. So the Chiron in Pisces there for the Chiefs, exact the North Node. We've been talking about this for weeks. We've been talking about the time where the North Node hits exactly the Chiefs, Chiron and Pisces. This means it's make or break everything all on Harrison. So Mr. Butker, I hope you've prayed a lot today and said your protection spells and done all the things that you need to do, because it's going to be a test. Absolutely. The Colts have not only their moon and Venus there as well on either side of the North Node. Saturn is at the end there, and for any lesson that has been left unlearned, they are absolutely going to be feeling that. So that Pisces energy is absolutely going to be something that you must stay in the flow with. So Pisces ruled second house, even though it is intercepted. That means the pace of the game, you're going to have to be in flow. You cannot fight what is happening as much as it could be happening. Having an empty fourth and fifth house for today's game does indicate a lot more open possibilities. People think that having empty houses means, nothing happens. But funny enough, that's not the case. That means that there's more possibilities of things to happen externally because there is nothing in there. And that means that you learn your lessons through others that have placements that fall into those houses. So what a fun ride, right? For the Chiefs, the Colts have their North Node and Juno in that fourth house, and the Chiefs have their sun. So having your sun at 0 degrees, Gemini, is already pretty wild. Having that at the most psychic degree, and then right before a new moon, as the moon was slowly easing into Gemini at the time of the Chiefs' announcement that they are in Kansas City and they're going to be the Chiefs. The Colts wags doing spells with that Black Moon Lilith. That is a really good point. You never know. Very interesting. I just think that Peyton Manning had to be doing some sort of black magic to have that long of a career with that giant damn forehead. Like, how the hell did he even fit into those helmets? It was still the funniest shit in the world when we used to see Peyton Manning take off his helmet and his whole forehead was just like bright red, and you're like, oh, is he okay? No, he just has a giant head. He was just a huge target. Anyway, the ability of that second house and third house is going to be put on the test. Like the vocalization of the second house, and then obviously the third house being ruled by Taurus, which is ruled by Venus, and Venus going to be over there in Scorpio. Deep emotional sort of vocalization of that third house that rules over communication. Like, I am not sure depths that we're going to be taken to today. The Colts and the Chiefs both have a historic rivalry. The Colts have ended the Chiefs' playoff dreams in the playoffs and before the playoffs many, many times. So I'm not stupid. Like, I am blinded by hope and joy centered around my team. But I remember the bad years, and I survived the bad years being a Chiefs fan. You're allowed to be hopeful. You're allowed to be excited. You're allowed to think that the Chiefs or your team, whatever team that may be, are going to be great. And you're also allowed to admit that, hey, maybe I was a little bit wrong about that one, and that's okay. I have been, I think, 5-5 maybe as well. I think I did predict them. No, I don't think I've predicted them to lose yet this year. No, last year I did, of course, and I was right, but that was because I knew that they were sitting Mahomes and playing like half of their second and third strings. So I knew that one. Oh man, Bears fan. Yeah, you get it. You get it. There's like moments of glory, and then you're like, oh my God, it's all falling apart. The ability to have an open mind and just watch, like, I watch the game with somebody who knows football inside and out to the point where they're like able to keep up with actual NFL players talking about current NFL happenings and all that without any sort of problem. Like, the people that I watch football with know football, and thank God, because I've always run my mouth about football and like run my mouth about certain things, but I am not one that can break down game tape, and I'm the first to admit that. Do I love the sport? Yes. Do I know it inside and out, like where I'm out there like, that was this formation and this is this coverage? No, not yet. But give me time, because I'm learning each and every game. So, play calling. We've talked about this. I think I need to send this chart to myself so that way we can talk about it. I've got time before the game today, so that's why I'm like, who cares? Take all the time you want. All right, so which chart is this? I have like Patrick's real chart. Okay, that's the one I'm going to send to myself. I was like, I don't want to accidentally send Patrick Mahomes' real chart to the chat. And then accidentally publicly out his actual birth time and all that. Probably not the best thing in the world for me to do. But this is going to be with Patrick's public chart, and it'll be fun to see. We will close that one for now. But, going into the play calling, I mentioned the play calling being wonky for the Colts today, just with that Chiron in Taurus, conjunct Uranus in Taurus. And Matt Nagy has a Sun and Chiron conjunction in Taurus, so that's why I got reminded to bring up his chart. Play calling today with Mercury retrograde for the Chiefs in that third house, conjunct the moon as always, which will be conjunct Uranus retrograde in Taurus as well. I just think that this is a make or break thing. We either learn that Patrick and Andy need to call the plays and Matt Nagy needs to go to another team, or we fire Matt Nagy as a early Christmas present to all of the Chiefs fans. Just let Andy and Patrick figure it out. That's what works best. Eric Bieniemy was on people's asses, and certain players who are soft and can't handle it might have had a problem with it, but at least he fucking won games. At least he gets pushed. Do you think athletes, like, tell me you don't know shit about sports without telling me, and people being like, Eric Bieniemy was mean. Yeah. Have you been in sports before? Coaches aren't always they're not like, good for you, buddy, you're going to get him next time. They're like, get your fucking ass out here. I'm going to beat this shit out of you if you miss this next route. If you don't catch this, you're going to do it 800 more times until your dumbass figures out how to use your hands. It's not like they're coddling these people. Like, you need to light a fire under a person who is playing a game of brutality against another person. It's an individual game of violence. It's very elegant, so to speak, at times, but it's not this like cotton candy sugar-coated thing. So Eric Bieniemy leaving Kansas City sucked. I'll be the first one to say it. Matt Nagy doesn't have the juice. He got burnt in Chicago, and he didn't come back the same. horrible play calling. Chiefs need to run the ball. Hopefully they can figure that out. So I'm hoping that this fourth house or third house Venus that is in domicile is going to be a help to the Chiefs here. And we're going to see how that plays out, because that could just mean emotional vocalization and obvious frustration again, as we've seen with some of the players and Jawan Taylor. There's so much more to this chart, though. You know, once again, I said the fourth house, which is where I see the home team, the Chiefs having their sun in the fourth house, does indicate to me that they're going to be the core and center and vitality of this team today. And it's not going to be like the type of showing that people want it to be. Everyone wants the Chiefs to get clobbered. Everybody wants the Chiefs to not have any hope. But the very beginning degrees of Gemini are full of hope. And hope springs eternal. Yes, yes, yes. We have to keep that. So that sun at the 0 degree of Gemini, I think, will be quite powerful there. Yeah, I was looking at the degrees for that, and it's a glass bottom boat, Gemini 1 degree. But then the 30th degree of Taurus is the 0 degree of Gemini. So if you guys have any placements at 0 degrees and you don't know how to look up the Sabian symbols, look up the 30th of the sign before and then the 1 of the sign after. But yeah, peacock parading on the terrace of an old castle is that degree of 0 degrees Gemini. So it's very much this like peacocking degree. We got this. We're at our home turf. Like I do hope that that is the case for the Chiefs, just because I'm a Chiefs fan, obviously. But I'm not going to be delusional and be like the Colts have no fucking shot. Like I'll show you the quarterback charts and we can see how that works. But yeah, the play calling is going to be huge. We'll talk about Matt Nagy here in a second because I have all the time in the world. I don't, but I might as well just keep going. The 5th house is where we left off. Nothing there for the Chiefs, but for the Colts, they do have Vesta. The Chiefs have Vesta in the 7th house, which I think is keeping that personal competitiveness alive, and that's going to be conjunct the South Node as well as Juno and Pluto it's going to be conjunct Vesta. The South Node is going to be conjunct Vesta, Juno, and Pluto and Ceres, as well as Uranus for the Chiefs. So definitely electrical charge in the one-on-one competition, the one-on-one relationships of the 7th house. The haters, there they are. The haters are the 7th house as well. The hidden enemies are that 12th house. The Chiefs having Mars and Leo in the 7th house doesn't hurt either. Their 6th house, though, is going to have that Jupiter retrograde conjunct their north node in Pisces or in Cancer there, and that's going to be trine the current north node in Pisces, as well as Saturn and Neptune in Pisces at those later degrees. So very interesting for the Chiefs. I do think that means they're going to be a little bit more physical this game, as well as fingers crossed it is a strong game for Chris Jones. All right, going into that 8th house where we see the odds and gambling. Yeah, Pluto is there for the Colts, and then for the Chiefs and the game, there's nothing there, but it is intercepted. So Libras, I'm not really sure how they're going to go today, how things are going to go. I think Kelsey had a great game at Denver and got that touchdown, had the only one that had a great game at Denver, but there was still some wonky hand stuff going on. You know, that 22 degree of Gemini does rule that 5th house. So the refs are probably just going to be as aggravating as ever today, especially as Mercury is in that lovely retrograde in Scorpio. The 9th house, which indicates the travel team, does have Venus and Mercury retrograde there. For the Colts, there is Saturn retrograde as well as Mars. That is something that I believe shows up more as their energy more than anything else. Maybe some sluggishness with Mercury retrograde traveling wise here. And then I think also they're going to be very fired up, and this game is going to be quite emotionally intense for them. And those with a more balanced root chakra are going to win, and we'll see that. And a lot of the energy for the Chiefs is going to be a little bit more outer planet wise. They do have their Neptune retrograde conjunct the Colts Saturn, though. Quite interesting. We talked a lot about the Colts chart already. So if you guys missed that, rewind. It's a live stream, but you can still rewind. I found that out this week, actually. I was really excited because I was like, wait, I can just rewind this and screen record live. I'm amazing. All right. So with the Colts chart being covered for the most part, we do have that Mars conjunct the MC for the Colts. That's going to be an interesting one. They're definitely going to show up aggressive. This is definitely going to be a fun game to watch. I'm excited about it. So that's why I'm going to speed through this so we can talk about Matt Nagy's chart, because good God, is it like the synastry with the Chiefs is just terrible. And someone, the love of my life, mentioned, hey, have you ever looked up like Matt Nagy? Or I don't think he even mentioned looking at Matt Nagy's chart, but I'm like, oh my God, now I have to do it. Because he mentioned all these times that Matt Nagy has like fucked everything up for the Chiefs. And I'm like, wait a second. Wonder how that synastry shows up. Because if it's happened before, it'll happen again. And that's why we just need to get rid of him. But Chiefs do have that South Node in that 12th house. So that'll be interesting to see how we are playing that one out. Is it something that we're comfortable with spiritually? Is isolating for us that Pluto is also in the 12th house? So it does feel like transformative. Possible pettiness? Who knows? Who knows? But if you are just wanting me to get to the point already and talk about who wins and by how much, I've already done that. I'm going to add it to my little handy dandy super official note card. There it is. So if you guys see it, it's Chiefs win by 9. That point insight came from the moon. Ask a Pisces like literally anything. I'm a Pisces in sidereal, and I also have a Pisces stellium in tropical. So either way, very Pisces. Ask a Pisces how they know anything. The moon. Ask a Cancer how they know anything. The moon. Ask a Scorpio how they know everything. Anything. It's like a deep intrinsic knowing that these water signs have. And it all, to me, is moon related. Doesn't matter if the sign is ruled by the moon or not. If you are a woman, you are ruled by the moon. If you're a man, you're ruled by the sun. Pure and simple. And there are people that have your worst intentions at heart. And yeah, that 12th node, South node in Cap, I feel like it's letting go of who's up top. Nagy, as you were saying. Yeah, I think we might be parting ways with some. I have not seen the Kansas City Chiefs fire coach mid-season since maybe Bob Sutton. I don't even know if it was mid-season. I think Bob Sutton was like the end of season. Not sure. I'd have to go back and look. I was on the fire Carl Peterson train. That happened before Christmas. Carl Peterson was fired before Christmas one year, and it was like the greatest Christmas present to me ever. That's how much I love the Chiefs. All right. Chiefs by 9. Going to be a very physical game. Kicking is going to be huge. Vocalization and controlling one's anger and channeling it to the right places is going to be huge. Heartfelt, deep center, vertex is at 7 degrees Virgo. So I will say a group of women, I meant to say this earlier because I was talking about how I called out the guy's placements because he has a Pisces moon and Venus and one other placement, and his Jupiter was at 5 degrees Virgo. And so 7 degrees Virgo was the solution degree. 7 degrees Virgo is known in the Sabian symbols as the harem degree, and it represents groups of women. If you have this in your chart, if you have a planet or placement around or aspecting 7 degrees Virgo, you are influenced by groups of women. You have huge amounts of luck as well as lessons through groups of women. And it can be how you treat them or how they treat you, how you react to that treatment, and so much more. And so that's why I mentioned the groups of women. But that's where today's vertex is. So groups of women could be key or a big center of this game. We might see Taylor Swift in a group of women today. We might see a new group of women today. Could be a whole new ballgame. We just don't know what that group of women is going to be, but that is where the vertex is today. And I do think that groups of women are going to be key. And then if you don't know, the solution degree to the harem degree is actually pretty beautiful. The 7th degree of Virgo is a harem, and then the 8th degree is a girl taking her first dancing instruction. And then the 9th degree, which is the solution degree, is an expressionist painter making a futuristic drawing. So if somebody has problems with women and somebody has problems manipulating women, playing women, using women, whatever it is you want to call it, the solution degree to get that out of their system, to get that away from what they do, to get that, to change that karma around is through art. And so many artists that have been obsessed with women or felt drawn to these women, when they have a muse, that's what they're doing to honor that energy properly. And it literally says in the Sabian symbols, which are channeled from the ancient Sabian people, which Sabian is just stars. They had that knowledge, and it's like it's in the literal zodiac that the connection from women to women expressing themselves, with the girl taking her first dancing lesson, to the expressionistic artist making a futuristic drawing, all of that, it's literally connected through art and women. So when you see that 7th degree, it's so poignant, and it talks about groups of women and expressing your love for women, your joy for women, or your obsession with women in a healthy way through that. So yeah, the Chief's Pluto is also at 9 degrees Virgo, so that's also the artist and expressionistic degree. And the Chiefs happen to work with a lot of local artists. They put on a lot of local collaborations with local, especially fashion and clothing people. They do collaborations with local small business owners all the time. So I think that's really cool. All right, what we've all been waiting for, at least what I've been waiting for, is going into this shit show of a chart with Matt Nagy. So I went ahead because we use noon charts for all of these. The Chiefs are a Virgo rising with their noon chart from May 22nd. Every single NFL team has a noon chart. That's what I use. The reason why is because these NFL teams have, they're all public, and they're all a public figure. So a noon chart is when the sun is usually in the 10th house anyways. So that is what I use. That means that, I don't really use like the actual rising, like this is who they are, this is the exact thing. But it does give a flavor, and it doesn't really hurt that so many of the players that I found on the Chiefs, as I have 6 of their natal charts, a lot of them are Virgo risings. So it kind of does track. The Chiefs have a lot of energy in Virgo. They have a lot of energy in Taurus, and they have a pretty balanced chart, outside of not having any Sagittarius placements and not having as many Libra placements as I think a team would need, just because Libra is such a balancing and transpersonal sign that, having the or not Libra placements, I'm sorry. Yes, Libra placements. Not having Libra placements makes you a very volatile type of leader at times, and that kind of represents to me how the Chiefs have not been very balanced in the past. The Chiefs have made some really rash decisions. I wouldn't say that they're as progressive. They're way more progressive now that they have Patrick Mahomes leading their team to glory all the time. And Patrick Mahomes being biracial is a large factor in his participation in the racism stuff that the Chiefs do with the NFL. Like, everyone has that. Also, Patrick Mahomes is an unapologetic, stone cold athlete. Like, this man is dominant. He might sound like Kermit the Frog, but he is definitely somebody that you need to pay attention to when he speaks, because he's going to speak the truth, and it's going to be fair. He's not going to like sling daggers at people. Honestly, if he had his Mercury in Scorpio, I would expect a lot more shit talking from him. But with his Mercury in Libra, it's diplomatic as fuck. So looking at this, we see the Chiefs all the way on the inner wheel, and we see Matt Nagy on the middle wheel, and we see Patrick Mahomes on the outside. So I took off the vertex and part of fortune because I was doing this chart, and then I just never put it back on, if you wanted to know. 11-11, make a wish. I wish Matt Nagy was fired. There you go. I caught it right at the tail end. That's beautiful. All right, so we got to start somewhere. Looking at the most obvious, if we're going to look at a chart, Matt Nagy has his North Node and Pluto retrograde in the Chiefs' second house. Matt Nagy is literally fucking with the income and financial status of the Chiefs with his presence. So there's one way to get out of there. And when I talk about this synastry, I just want you guys to know this is synastry between a team, which is an organization, and that's in that middle chart, or in that inner chart. The middle chart was with a coach, an authority figure within an organization, and then the face of the organization, which is the highest paid quarterback or highest paid guy on the team, which is Patrick Mahomes. And that's going to be his public chart. I do have his actual birth time, but I still want permission from him or his mother to use it publicly, at least. And when I have that, I'll start using it. But main point, the whole point of this is to look at these people as reflections of each other and how they work together in a professional setting. Would I say this, like if the middle chart was the mom and the middle and outside were the two kids, would I be talking the same way? Absolutely not. That's all I'm trying to get at. The second house for Patrick, for the Chiefs, is quite bountiful. While he does have his Chiron there in Libra at the beginning, he also has his Venus there in Libra, conjunct Chiron in the second house. So he is a blessing as well as a healer in many ways, the first of many ways. I think the Chiefs having a biracial quarterback, a black quarterback for their franchise quarterback, leading them into this new phase. I was a Chiefs fan when they were deeply poverty mentality and quietly racist. The Hunt family, billionaires from Texas, they're not going to be the most in touch with the culture that you could possibly imagine. And the culture of a locker room is going to be different than the culture of a front office. And you can't just ignore that. I do think that the Chiefs chart, the May 22nd, 1963 chart, is more of the chart of the ownership, and same with every other team. I go by when they first were announced in the city and when they started playing first in that city. And that's what I go by. And obviously the Colts one was a wild one to track down, but hey, here we are. We got it figured out, and now we're on to Matt Nagy conversations, but it's difficult to put into words how much of a change that Mahomes has brought to Kansas City. So I find it incredibly, so amazing, blowing my mind how cool it is. I'm the only astrologer in the world with Mahomes' proper birth time. With somebody like Victor goes and finds it out and pulls it out of a birth certificate, it might not even be exactly accurate. Who knows? So I will have the right one no matter what. Sometimes hospitals round up. Sometimes hospitals will round off, and I can be like, nah, I actually have from the source his mother. That's literally from the source. So we'll see. But with, Nagy's appearance in Chiefs realm, his moon and Uranus being conjunct in Scorpio and his Uranus being retrograde, it's not great. It's Uranus conjunct Neptune is something that's like a rude awakening, especially the Uranus retrograde and Neptune retrograde. Rude awakening, pulling the veil over somebody's eyes, ripping the veil off of somebody's eyes, maybe lifting the veil and revealing himself, as so much of the moon is connected to that, as well as Lilith being right there for the Chiefs. It's definitely something where I see this not ending well. This is definitely a battle of ego. And I think while Uranus is back in Taurus and opposite Nagy's moon, he is not well. Uranus oppositions in general are rough, especially when, it's something that is coming. Everyone experiences one. My Uranus is it's exactly 0 degrees Capricorn. So when Uranus goes into Cancer, I will be experiencing mine. I look towards the positive side of most things, right? So when I'm looking at Matt Nagy's chart, I'm going to be like, wow, this guy could be electric and like spiritual jolt of something. But I think his energy is a lot more volatile than we know about. This last new moon was exact Mahomes' Pluto, and that shows up in the Chiefs' 4th house. He literally is there to transform them from the inside out. Esperanza says Nagy with that empty 1st and 7th, and Mahomes holding up the Saturn and Sun opposition. Yeah, we've got a real interesting look at these two because Nagy and Mahomes have met before. They've separated, then they've come back and worked together. I think that, Mahomes has a lot more energy with people that maybe bring a little bit more energy. They do have an interesting Moon and Jupiter conjunction, though. So Matt Nagy has Jupiter at 1 degree Cancer. Mahomes' moon is around that area of Cancer. It's closer to the 1 than it is the 3. But Mahomes' moon is right there. So Moon and Jupiter conjunction can be quite beautiful. There's a lot of harmony there. There's a lot of joy there. For Nagy, his Jupiter is ruled by his moon in Scorpio. So that tells me that his Jupiter is at that Aries degree of me. What's in it for me? What am I getting out of this? And the moon being in Scorpio is this deep-seated, whatever resentment, whatever anger lies dormant in Mr. Nagy is going to be what surfaces for him as well. And it's not exactly something that he can run from because it's like right there in his chart that, his Jupiter in Cancer is ruled by that moon in Scorpio. And that moon in Scorpio being opposite his Venus already, that's some inner authority issues that Mr. Nagy has to work out on his own. But I want to point out that the Sun and Chiron conjunction, I'm going to have some more coffee. We got 40 minutes till kickoff. I'm still going. You guys know the Chiefs are winning by 9 today. We got this. I'm just going into the depths of all these things. It's extra bonus content. Haven't even talked about the players' charts yet, but I just want to dive into this one. It's crazy. We've got so much here that indicates that Matt has a chance to be great within this organization, right? Like a 2nd house, Pluto, and North Node. That could be a powerful fucking person. But the insecurities that live within, his Sun is conjunct the Chiefs' Venus, and his Venus is conjunct their moon and Mercury retrograde. And his Sun and Chiron conjunct the Chief's Venus is very much like this is the ultimate healing place for him. Like he has a home here. He can travel from many places away with that Venus being, or that Sun and Chiron conjunction being in the 9th house with the Chief's Venus. He can make an impact globally for them. He can be that person, but he has to heal his own vocal insecurities. And I don't think he has. I don't think he's worked on that. I think he needs to be the man reflecting in deep silence, and along with Tony Romo, who I've also for some reason banned from the stream today. I'm like, Tony Romo will not be listened to. I might have to wear headphones with that motherfucker is announcing today, but his Mercury retrograde being loosely conjunct that, or 4 degrees away, it's not loosely, it is conjunct the Jupiter for the Chiefs, as well as his South Node being conjunct the Jupiter for the Chiefs, both by about 5 degrees. I know that their success makes him uncomfortable in some ways, or he might not be able to process that success the right way with his Mercury retrograde in Aries being that mental state of being, in that like he might not get the right things out, but he also has tremendous ability here to change all of that. So I don't know what has happened. I'm not in the locker rooms, but I am around people that are, and everyone's fired up. Everyone's ready to have a fucking day. And I think nobody better than Patrick Mahomes. I said Nagy. Okay, look, I will go back to that real quick. I said Nagy and Mahomes's synastry was rather putrid, and I do mean that. Like, it does seem that Nagy has an inferiority complex a little bit, or is intimidated by all of Patrick's natural success and wants to like control it or dominate it in some way. It does feel very weird. It feels like when a girl wants to be your friend and it's really just because you have everything that she wants to have, and like she doesn't know how to just get it on her own. I don't know. It's like a weird thing unless you've experienced this. I don't really know how to put it, but if you know, you know. So today for Mahomes, we see his Saturn there in the first house. It is his Saturn return. He is going through that. So we are going to see some, things happening around his Saturn. His Saturn is in Pisces, which does rule the feet. And that is at that 21 degrees in retrograde in the first house. So it is sandwiched between Saturn and the North Node today. I said this was going to be a deeply personal game for Mahomes. I think he does carry this one, maybe literally on his feet. His Pluto and his Mars are in that 9th house, and that does sit where the travel team is. So it does seem to be his personal mission of sorts to kind of dominate that side of the field. His South Node is going to be conjunct Chiron as well in the 2nd house. So he does have a lot of pressure mentally on pacing and controlling the game. It's not easy for an Aries South Node to learn how to slow down and learn how to breathe. That is his North Node in Libra, which will not be activating until way into his Saturn return being over. So we're talking about like closer to 36 is when that North Node really activates. Going into the side of things where we have not only Mercury, but we also have Venus and Chiron there in that 8th house. There's a lot of things where I think that there's going to be a balancing act of some sort of the anger, once again, that we talked about, and then having his Mercury there in the 8th house is going to be a lot of directing that collective type of energy along with his North Node to kind of bring them out of that woe is me state. So I think there's a lot to be said about all the things happening in that 8th house, as well as going into that 9th house for Mahomes and seeing his Mercury and Scorpio there, just kind of rocking into that 9th house and being like, okay, you might be here, but I'm here first. This is my house. He doesn't have anything in the 4th house for today's game that you guys can see. I do know that he is going to be showing up creatively. That he is going to be running some plays. He is going to be very physical this game. I do know his chart a little bit, but I'm not going to say I know it perfectly. He does have Jupiter conjunct today's Lilith as well as the sun. And it's in between Mars as well. So hopefully, he takes all that energy in the spotlight and puts that on display. Let's go into the opposing quarterback. Let's see how that looks. We've got not only, it was like a game time decision. I didn't realize this was like such a crazy thing. The ability for Daniel Jones to stay keeping the Colts going. I mean, I think they've had a great season so far. They've been pretty dominant. Daniel Jones happens to have his moon today right on the ascendant. So while this is a noon chart for Daniel Jones, and as well as the one that we looked with Patrick on, it is pretty cool to see that he has a moon and Jupiter conjunction in the first house of today's game. But his South Node is exact Saturn right now. And South Node, Saturn, especially around the feet, I think he had an injury, which I'm not sure if it had anything to do with the feet, but definitely tracks if so. His actual Saturn is an Aries, and that is going to be conjunct Chiron as well. Chiron retrograde today, and his Chiron retrograde is getting closer and closer to that Saturn. He has Vesta in the 2nd house as well, so he might be a huge part of keeping that fire alive for the Colts. His Mercury is at 11 degrees exactly square today's rising. So that is going to be a fun one to watch and see how he uses today's game as a building block to either fortify his stances and physicality and vocalization on the team, or possibly show that he got a little bit by today's game. Who knows? But his Sun in Gemini and his Venus in Gemini in the 4th house do make him a very formidable opponent. South Node and Saturn, tough row to hoe, illness, even maybe like a cold. That's very, very true. Especially South Node with Saturn retrograde. It's like the karmic trudging up of bleh. So he's going through his nodal reversal. He's going through Saturn on his South Node. It's definitely not easy being Daniel Jones at the moment, yet there's so much talent there, especially with the Virgo Mars North Node in the 7th house. This kid is here to stay. He's going to be a very physical opponent. As we also mentioned that moon on the rising, he also has Uranus and Neptune retrograde in the 12th house of today's game, and that is all around Pluto and Aquarius. So he's also a Pallas, Athena, and Aquarius like I am. So shout out to Pallas, Athena's, and Aquarius. Gotta love it. Then that Pluto and Sun conjunction, Pluto retrograde on the MC, I do think that shows him being a little bit wonky in the spotlight today, especially with that Sun and Pluto, because Sun and Pluto feels like an extra visit. It's like Zeus, and not Zeus, but it's like Sun God and Hades, the underworld, hanging out, and it's like that's not usually a thing that you see happening. So Pluto and the Sun, very transformative. The Sun visiting Pluto, so to speak, for Daniel Jones is a little bit more enlightening, a little bit more burning, a little bit flying too close to the Sun can be the case for today, especially as that Sun is in the 10th house. Let's go into Rishi Rice's chart. Why not? We have another 30 minutes and I have all these charts, so fuck it. I'm just going to be live for 3 hours today. For today's game, we see, of course, the first house at 11 degrees Aquarius. Then his Juno and Uranus are there in the first house, so maybe he has a big impact on the score today, personally making an impact on that. Then going into that second house, we see his Mercury and Venus, and that's going to be conjunct Chiron, as well as his Sun in the second house. So Rishi Rice should be making a pretty big impact on the pacing of today's game, as well as the vocalization. The Jupiter, Saturn, and Mars conjunction all around Uranus retrograde in Taurus. He could be taking a firm stance, maybe getting into it with another teammate or maybe somebody on the opposing team with that Venus and Mercury opposite those placements for him today. Then going in the 4th and 5th house, nothing there for the game or for Rishi. And then we go into Pallas and his North Node right there in the 6th house, conjunct Jupiter retrograde. So that's kind of cool to see. And hopefully he has a bountiful day physically. Going into that 7th house, he does have Ceres retrograde, loosely conjunct that South Node. Not really much to comment on there. 8th house, same. 9th house, same. But then we get to that 10th house. And speaking of showing out, that Pluto and Chiron conjunction, conjunct Mars today, should be interesting to see how he's healed around that. And the spotlight will be loud and focused on him, as well as his moon there with Juno of the game. So maybe commitment and the relationship to today's game is solid. He does have his Lilith retrograde conjunct the moon in Vesta of today's game in the 11th house. Then we got his South Node in Vesta, as well as his Neptune in the 12th house. So that should be interesting to see how that plays out, whether he's kind of like the spiritual fire that keeps everybody going. He's been in these tough spots before and he's used to it. Like, we'll just see subconsciously how the collective seems to be doing for today's game. One guy that I know a lot of people have a lot of questions about is obviously Travis Kelce. He's always at the top of the list. Like, what's he going to do this week? Is he going to be okay? Well, 3 placements in the intercepted Libra 8th house should be an interesting game for him. I do think he makes some small progress and maybe gets some good odds there for you guys. But I also feel like, you know, those intercepted Libra moments in the 8th house, he must be channeling a lot of the frustration and rage into and out of his Sun and Mars placement. His moon in the 10th house, I think his emotional levels will be spotlight and highlighted today. His Venus on the MC and that conjunct Mercury retrograde. Maybe we see a group of women out supporting him, or a certain woman with her Mars conjunct the MC as well. For Kelsey, we also see Uranus and Saturn there conjunct in the 11th house, and that is going to be conjunct Vesta in the moon today. And his Vesta is also in Capricorn, so he was always going to end up with a rich woman. Are you kidding me? That Vesta in Capricorn keeps things going financially, as well as just being the heart and soul of it all. The Neptune and Moon conjunction today, maybe he is feeling a little bit more spiritual, maybe a little bit more intuitive today. Maybe he is feeling himself, and we might see that a little bit expressed through dance, through hyping up his team. We'll see. It'll be fun. Noah Gray, his tight end on the field as well. We've got him with his Uranus and South Node right there, conjunct the rising, as well as his Neptune right there in the 12th house. Really looking to his moon today in that 9th house, as well as his Mars in that 8th house. He does have his sun in the 3rd and Saturn in the 3rd as well, with his Mercury and Jupiter conjunction in Aries conjunct Chiron. So maybe that's been a little bit why he's had some rough moments on the field, drop passes, wonky drop passes, who knows? But it'll definitely be interesting, right? And it'll always be interesting. And I think 83 is going to show up blocking today. He's in a lot of that lately. So, all right. Like I said, this is the game. You've seen it all. I've yapped for like 2 hours now, which is probably the longest show I've done all year. Not going to blame caffeine for that one. I actually just had a lot to say, especially about Matt Nagy. Which, blessings. I hope it all works out for us. That's all I can hope, right? Kansas City Chiefs, I do have winning by 9 today, so if you are here and waiting for that, I have been babbling about Synastry of so many other things. And I'm looking forward to this game and seeing how it all plays out. You know, the man in silence, like I said, we could hear people talking about meditation today with that 12 degree of Aquarius. That is more of the degree of the truth degree, which is all about people in a hierarchy of sorts, and then the solution degree is the barometer degree, and that is all about the weather. So we could see people talking about meditation, people talking about a hierarchy, and then people talking about the weather nonstop, or the weather being a little bit wonky. Thank you to every single person that has been watching this. I almost exited early like I've been doing thanks to Mercury retrograde. I hope you all have enjoyed this show. If you want to download Working with the Sabian Symbols book, I have that on my website available for free, as well as my book I have with Barnes & Noble, The Astrology of 2025. If you guys want a fully picturesque breakdown of everything that happened this year, and all the lunations and all the guides to those lunations, check it out. It's also available on my website in the PDF form. I look forward to each and every one of these because I get to yap about the cosmos with you all. I literally talked about sports the entire time this week, outside of sharing some never before heard publicly lore about my insights on gambling, the mob, and the 1985 World Series, thanks to Esperanza coming through and talking me into it somehow. She didn't even know what she was getting in for, but we are here now. So I'm really, really grateful for those that are able to stop in and yap with me. Talking is always way more fun than just yapping to myself. You know, I like to talk with people and hear their insights about what they think is going on, how things are going with them with all these transits. The next time I see you guys will be, I think, Thursday. Thanksgiving stream, fuck it, why not? We'll see what happens. I will be dressed that way, and I'll actually look nice for Thanksgiving instead of just look like a person that woke up and rolled out of bed. You know, for the holiday streams, I might just show up in my pajamas, but they're like monogram pajamas, so it's kind of like I'm wearing something nice. So I'm just going to be cozy, but I will see you guys before the full moon. There's nothing really more that I want than a great full moon in Gemini for everyone. This is definitely going to be a mental awakening. This last lunation was revelations, like I mentioned, a lot of things getting exposed, a lot of things getting revealed finally, as well as it's still in motion. Like a lot of people skip past these lunations, like new moons and full moons, and they think like, oh, well, the moon changed, so now it doesn't apply to anything. And like I saw somebody being like, no, it was bigger than the new moon. I'm like, there's nothing closer to Earth than the moon. The sun's quite far away for obvious reasons. So how is it bigger than the new moon? Like there's nothing bigger than the new moon. Like hello. It made me laugh though. It's like we got to start taking these new moons and full moons a little bit more serious. I know that every little kitschy astrology account wants to be like, the moon is here and this is what matters most today. But it's like the moon tells a story and it's a full 28-day, 29.5-day cycle. And it's like, it's not just one thing that completes it. So you got to look at the weaving of the tales. And it's like once a lunation happens doesn't mean that it's like nothing is impacted. Now we're on to the next one. But if you're looking forward to the next one, it's on December 4th with a full moon in Gemini at 13 degrees. So find that in your charts and we'll yap about it the next time I see you guys. So excited. So many games coming up. But once again, my name is Gracey. Some people call me the witch. I just call myself Gracey. And I happen to be quite witchy. So it all works out. If you've enjoyed this stream, if you've enjoyed this video whenever you see it, please be sure to check out my work, which will be on the next scene. And I will see you guys next week. Have a great one.